have manifesting something will not work in life. Manifestation will be a vision, and for that vision to come true, we shall work hard really well. When those both things combine, then only we'll get some optimum result. What's my perspective towards these situations? And at the end of each of my journal entry, I used to write that I have a lot of belief in myself and I shall complete this race that I have begun. So this was my motivation, sir. The notes is not perfect in any stage of the preparation. Aspirants should realize it, because nobody else knows that this something is perfect for the exam. It's always somewhere in the beginning or in the middle, and yet we have to move on with that notes. Hard work itself will give you results. That is so overrated, because we also need to be smart enough. It doesn't matter like if you read a lot of books, it is not met the requirements of this exam.
Good evening, everyone. We have a very special ranker with us today. She is Shivani, and she has secured All India rank 11 in this year UPSC examination. She's a techie. She did this in her second attempt. In the initial attempt, she could not clear prelims. And from there on, this year, she has secured All India rank 11. She reads and she has a lot of interest that you would be knowing very, very soon. So thank you, Shivani, for taking out your time and joining us. Before I dive deep into the core academic questions, I would want to know the Shivani behind the rank. So who really is Shivani when she is not studying? What are the hobbies she's pursuing? What is she doing if she's not studying?
Yes. Sir, I am basically like any other normal girl. Like, I have a creative interest. I love painting and I love reading fiction and non-fiction books. I read a lot, and I practice yoga. I practice journaling, and sometimes I write poems also. And I have a lot of interest in creative fields. Like, I love music, enjoying listening to some good music, and I love listening to Kavali also. So these are my certain interests.
Right. So when you graduated, and of course, when you gave the exam, you could not clear the first prelims, right?
Yes.
What was your mindset then? And during the next year, of course, the course of preparation, was there any moment or were there moments when you thought that this is not your cup of tea and you should go back to private sector and you should choose a life probably that's more happening, and what a life am I into now? So were there any low moments like that? And if there were, how did you really overcome them?
Yes. So there were really a lot of moments like that, and each and every question that you mentioned, I experienced that all through the year that I failed the prelims. And initially, the first prelims that I gave, I think maybe I was way too nervous and anxious. Like, I was confident also, but the nervousness was pretty much. I was running behind the different resources, and I did not have a fixed book list to study. So I was basically not keeping my book list minimum. So there was a natural anxiety happening. And post the prelims failure, there were many moments when I thought I shall go back to my corporate sector. So because I will have some backup as a career in my life, and also I'll have something more happening rather than sitting in a room studying for hours together. So there were many moments like that, and time and again, one important hobby that helped me all through my journey is that I write journals. So in my journal, I used to write the situation, like how I am experiencing things right now, what's my perspective towards these situations. And at the end of each of my journal entry, I used to write that I have a lot of belief in myself and I shall complete this race that I have begun. So this was my motivation, sir.
Right. How did your family react when you told them that you want to give the biggest exam in this country? So, what was their reaction? Of course, we can come to that, how they feel now, but we will save that for the later stage. Initially, when you told them that you will be sitting for IAS, how did they react?
So actually, this was something like very well known in my home, because I had this dream of becoming an IAS officer ever since I was in fifth or sixth standard itself. So I do not know the nitty gritties of this profession, but I had this dream long while. And they were actually sure that I'll be writing this exam, but they didn't know that it's just right away after my graduation. So when I told this about home, we discussed a lot about whether I shall pursue a career in my core sector or whether I shall pursue civil services. So then, after thinking of the pros and cons, maybe my father, he also told me that since you started preparing for it already in the pandemic, so just give it a try. like you're in your early 20s, so not much is in stake right now. So they said to go ahead, and probably that is a motivation for me to take this biggest risk right after graduation.
And was you also the support system when you felt really low in the preparation? Like, did you really go back to the father only, or you had other people to go around?
Yes, sir. I had my father and other people like friends and well-wishers. They were there for me all the time. And though I'm not that person who is regularly in touch with them, but whenever I needed, those people were there for me. They constantly boosted up my morale. And without them, I think this is not possible, sir, because we humans require some support system to go on despite the challenges.
And I also see sabr and perseverance there in your background. How important are these affirmation on a daily basis that, this is an exam that has to be, that I can crack. I have the belief that I can crack. And sabr and perseverance, how does these words impact you on a daily level?
Yes, sir. I think the experiences that we get in life, they'll make us much humbler than yesterday. And the same is the case with me. Like in the during the first attempt, I was that confident kid. Like I have did all that hard work. Like why should I not get the rank, or why should I not get selected? That was my mindset back then. But experiences in life, as I told earlier, they'll make us humbler. And during that long wait after prelims failure, I realized the art of patience. How much is it required in life? So then I have written it as a sabr in my on my wall, and perseverance because I have written some other state public service exams, and each of those exams I could not clear the prelims. So it was all one question for me that I was not able to clear prelims at all of each exam. So I realized that this is some test for me. So then I have written perseverance on my wall. And even when I look it every day, I realize how much important that these qualities play a part in our life, despite of this exam and every other stuff. These qualities, they really make our personality strong. So I think this kind of a positive affirmation and positivity around us is very important.
I mean, you could not clear prelims of any exam you gave so far, before UPSC, of course. And after UPSC, also, you could not clear the first stage. And right after that, you topped the biggest exam. You secured All India rank 11. Did you also manifest a top rank somehow, somewhere in your wall behind?
Yes, sir, sure. Like I had manifested somewhere in top 50. So that was my manifestation. And I believed it so strongly that I used to write it on my planner every night. So every
Hmm.
night before I go to bed, I'll plan things that I should do tomorrow. And after that plan, I'll write that I'll be in top 50. So that is my manifestation and a firm belief. And sir, I think I need to clarify something here because manifestation as a word is being used wrongly these days. So simply like have manifesting something will not work in life. Manifestation will be a vision, and for that vision to come true, we shall work hard really well. So when those both things combine, then only we'll get some optimum result.
Hmm. You seem to be quite philosophical also, Shivani. Was there any philosophy that you were following, or, were you in spirituality by any chance?
Yes, sir. Probably a friend of mine suggested to go through Stoicism during the prelims failure. So then I got deeply interested in Stoicism, and I do read Bhagavad Gita. So maybe that kind of knowledge or wisdom is being reflected in my spiritual words.
Could you share some example of either Stoicism philosophy or Bhagavad Gita philosophy? Whenever you were low, these words came back to you to overcome the situation of that loneliness. Could you share anything like that?
Probably in Stoicism, we focus much on the efforts. The result is not at all like in picture. Every day we have to do some work that we are the duty that is bestowed upon us, and no matter how things go, we shall complete that duty. And our thinking capability should be limited to that extent only. Whatever happens beyond the efforts is not in our hands. And Stoicism also made me to be rational in my life. So sometimes, sir, when there are experiences like failures, we get so much personal, and we get emotional, and we lose the thought of rationality. And Stoicism helped me in being rational. Like where I'm really going wrong, that should be the focus, my area of focus. And in that way, Stoicism helped me to think rational and act rational. And Bhagavad Gita, sir, specifically, I started practicing yoga. just after that break of first prelims. So in that Bhagavad Gita also there is a verse which mentions what is called yoga. So in that Lord Sri Krishna says it is equanimity, the ability to treat success and failure, possibility and impossibility on an equal lane. So that is equanimity, and that equanimity itself is yoga, which is the balance of life.
Hmm. Since you also talk about rationality, Shivani, did you have any plan B? Because you were ultimately attempting a very uncertain exam, and there were quite a chance that you could have not made it this year also at any stage. So, was there any plan B, or you thought of pursuing more and more had you not made it into the list?
Yes, sir. Technically, sir, I had applied for 2025 also in February, keeping in view the uncertainty that is this exam holds. But yes, sir, I probably thought of giving a break to UPSC this year. Like in this second attempt, if things did not go well as I planned, I thought I shall take up a job in corporate sector, because my career did not start in core sector, because right away after graduation I jumped into the preparation, which is not advisable, I think, in these days. I probably took that risk, but it is risky for each one of us. So then I probably thought I shall give a try at my core sector again. And if I find that passion again, so maybe I can find things manageable while having a job. So that was my plan of action. So plan B is not just about a job or financial independence, it's about your mental health as well.
Do you think it's important for UPSC aspirants to also know when to pause? Because people only see this exam either to make it or leave it forever. I see aspirants operating on extremes. So they are like, either we will make it or we will not give it again. But I think pause is very underrated. Pause is very underrated. Like when to pause for a while, probably explore other areas, and then probably come back again to the preparation. Do you think it's quite underrated? Do you share the same opinion?
Yes, sir. It is underrated because we glorify success so much so that we'll blur the lines between these uncertain factors. So maybe in that sense, sir, plan B is very important because it will give you that strength to bounce back in life. It's not about leaving the exam altogether. If you find that fire still in your life that you have to appear for civil services, you can do it anyhow, managing a 9 to 5 job probably, which will give you a strength to bounce back. So maybe, sir, in that sense, we should not glorify success altogether, because efforts are done by each one of us, and there are a lot many factors in deciding the success. It
Correct.
is it is rational to have a backup.
Right. You also come from a technical background and you chose anthropology as your optional. Like, was this a strategy or you really developed the passion for the subject?
Sir, initially, as I told, I started this in the pandemic period just as an interest. So it was not something that I shall take this as an optional or something, but out of genuine interest for the subject, I started it. Over the while, after referring to the topper strategies and PYQs, I thought like let's give it try, because coming from technical background, I did not have much introduction to these humanities. So maybe this will give me a time off from the studies, and this will give me some genuine interest, because until then the terms like culture, religion, language was taught to me just like any other. There was no specific introduction to me to these core concepts, but anthropology gave me that. In that sense, sir, I took anthropology as optional because it gave me so much of interest and curiosity.
Right. So, while you were also dealing with mains, what was the hardest part? Was it content? Was it speed? Was it clarity? Or was it something else? And how did you overcome any of these parts?
Sir, I think each of the like terms that you mentioned, there was a challenge to some extent, because right after prelims, when we get the result that we are going to write mains, we do not have the clarity like how to deal things, because the syllabus itself is enormous. We have the GS papers, optional, current affairs, a lot of it was there, and naturally we lack that clarity at that time. So it will consume some time for us aspirants to have that clarity. But if we have that clarity beforehand on how to approach different papers, it will become a lot more easier.
Hmm.
And so related to content also, though we read a lot for prelims and mains during preparation stages, we fail to write a good answer in the time limit to that demand of the question.
Hmm.
So content itself also becomes a problem. When it comes to speed, obviously we did not have such practice. So speed also becomes an issue. So, sir, for each of these issues, I maintained one simple strategy that I'll divide the time for each of the GS papers. For example, 1 week or 10 days for GS1. So I scheduled it like that, and I maintained the micro theme notes. For each of the topic mentioned in the syllabus, I had a micro theme notes, which is handy. And after that, sir, I started writing answers. For example, if I had a schedule for society for certain topics on particular day, I will read those topics, and in the evening I'll attempt the PYQs on those topics in the stipulated time limit. I used to maintain a stopwatch for that, and after writing the answers, I will analyze it with my notes. Like, was the content clear enough? Was it exactly like in my notes, or is there something really lacking that the demand if question is not met?
Hmm.
And speed factor was also checked, and after that I used to reflect on the value addition, like was there any kind of value addition that is seriously missing in my answer. So on basis of evaluation on these criteria, I used to go ahead with the practice.
At Civilsdaily also, we are emphasizing a lot on micro themes notes, and all the rankers also coming up these days. They are also talking about note making with respect to micro themes only. I think this is the only way to go forward now, and you really can't go anywhere else. So, what's the journey? You identify the PYQ first, and the repeating themes and the micro themes, and then you do the note making, and then you crisp it to one pager notes for revision. Is this the correct way, or you did something else?
Sir, most probably I did the similar way. Like I referred the micro theme notes, I made my notes. And one important thing is that, sir, the notes is not perfect in any stage of the preparation. Aspirants should realize it because nobody else knows that this something is perfect for the exam. It's always somewhere in the beginning or in the middle. And yet we have to move on with that notes, and we have to do value addition as and when like we get ahead in the preparation. So that should be the mindset. Chasing perfectionism should not be the aim. Chasing some decent content with value addition and required amount of speed. This should be the process. And sir, micro theme notes, I followed it extensively. As I said, I used ChatGPT for that. I used to give some commands, and in that specific structure, only ChatGPT used to give me some answers in bullet points. I used
Hmm.
to take only those important pointers which I seriously lacked. So I did not use to copy all the material from ChatGPT. Only those points which I thought were really useful. So I made them into a short notes. And as and when the exam is approaching, say for example, 15 days before the mains, I used to make a list of keywords. So those keywords shall be used as dimensions or headings or important points in my answers. So in this way, I maintained micro theme notes and later enriched that into some value addition. And after that, I made some keyword list. So this is my mains preparations.
No, the aspect you said wonderfully that there are no perfect notes, and which also generate a lot of FOMO, especially with the Gen Zs these days, fear of missing out. And there is an infodemic around. Everybody has to offer something on internet, right? So mental health then becomes a great. Mental health gets disturbed obviously because there is so much available. There is a fear of missing out, and main syllabus is huge. So, did you also went through any of these problems, and how did you again overcome that?
Sir, as I said earlier, it's because of my mentor. I did not get much of this infodemic in my head because there was some clarity, and I did not run behind the courses or run behind the information a lot because credibility becomes a huge factor in this exam. Every other person with limited knowledge has their own YouTube channel and giving some information, and that becomes a overload. So I maintained a simple thing, sir, because exam time itself is very crucial. We have just 2.5 months for mains preparation. So I just maintained a simple thing that whatever decent content that I get for a micro theme, I'll not go beyond that. Only if something is related to value addition or some current affair event, only that will be included in my notes. And other than that, I will not entertain any other pointers or information on that topic once the notes is made. And sir, clearly this infodemic is a huge problem, and mental health is also a problem because we often tend to realize that this exam we place a lot of importance to this exam, so much so that we'll associate our capabilities, our achievements with this exam alone. But when we treat it just as an exam, things will become much clearer, and will be in a position to give our true efforts. So that should be our approach.
As you mentioned, current affairs, what is the right way to deal with current affairs? Because again, this is also creating a lot of panic with the aspirants, right? There are weekly, daily, monthly current affairs available, right? So again, and also the interlinking is very important with respect to current affairs. So you need to know holistically about an issue from all the GS angle these days to answer a current affair question. So what is your take on current affairs preparation?
Uh, Sir, I think any compilation would work for that matter, but we should be very much careful about how much of this content is relevant for the exam needs. We should first underline the topics which are very important for the exam. We can do that by comparing it with the syllabus keyword list. If something is there in the syllabus keyword list and the news event is repeating time and again, for example, if we read newspaper, we'll know the continuity that some issue is being repeated over the weeks. So then we'll know that probably this is the most important issue. And when we have that syllabus keyword also, we'll be pretty sure that we need to have some notes on this issue. And so for that, sir, there are different compilations in the market. We need to just take the data or the information that is required for the exam. Again, decent amount of content and your own value addition points. This will suffice. And there is no need of running behind current affairs more than this. Only for papers like GS23, and also some topics which are integrating in manners. For example, women, for example, social justice. So these can be used in ethics, GS2 governance, and GS1 society as well. We need to identify such micro themes, and we need to make notes on such topics so that it is like it will save our time and it can be integrated in any of these papers.
Hmm. You also majorly cracked this exam through self-study, Shivani. So, how did your day look like when you were self-studying uh, for this exam?
Sir, actually, there is no ideal schedule because according to the different stages of the exam, my schedule used to change. For prelims, I used to spend at least 8 to 10 hours. As and when the exam approached, there will be some 10 hours of work. And before that, simple 6 to 8 hour would work. And I basically used the morning. I'm an early bird, by the way. So I used to wake up at 5 a.m. And after that, I'll just revise what I had done yesterday. So morning slot 5 to 7, 7:30 will be for revision, and after that, sir, yoga and meditation and some daily necessities. And post that, I'll make different slots like 2.5 hour. So maybe probably three slots through the entire day. And I'll take an afternoon nap and evening break so that my productivity will not go down. So I used to maintain these breaks in middle of my slots. And slots will be given according to the priority. For example, sir, in prelims, it's about the strong subjects, weak areas, tests, and test analysis, PYQs. So according to that, I'll give slots and I'll have a test alternate day and revise those tests. And in between, I used to listen to podcast of some news. For example, sir, I would like to share with the aspirants. There's a wonderful podcast by Indian Express. It's called The Three Things, wherein they discuss the three important news issues of the day. So I used to do that in my lean hours where I was not really interested to study. I used to listen to those podcasts, and some important news events will get covered. And I'm surprised that some of the questions were also covered in the prelims also. So in that way, your passion will help you.
Hmm.
And sir, when it comes to mains, things will become very hectic because it is very exhausting stage of the exam. And I used to really spend 12 to 14 hours on an average.
In the
And for
mains period, 12 to
yes, sir,
14
in the
hours.
main spirit, 12 to 14. I think it is the requisite amount because it is very strenuous. We have to cover a lot in those 2 or 2.5 months only. And for that, sir, the slots will be like answer writing, covering the content, making notes on different themes for value addition and for memorizing. So in this way, I maintain different slots for a day, and I covered through mains. And so for interview, it will become some fun and enjoying activity because we analyze about our own selves. And I used to have slots for newspaper reading, then analyzing the topics from newspaper, and enriching my DAF notes. So this was my time schedule, sir.
Any advice that you think which is overrated when it comes to UPSC preparation? You might have heard online, you might have read. what are the advices that are seriously overrated with this preparation?
Uh, Sir, I don't think, sir, if I can tell something is really overrated, that discipline and like hard work itself will give you results. That is so overrated, because we also need to be smart enough. It
Hmm.
doesn't matter like if you read lot of books, it will not if it is not met the requirements of this exam. So it is not about the hard work alone. It's
Hmm.
so overrated. We need to analyze that how much of hard work and should be combined with the smart work, so that we'll get out of this process with a good rank.
Hmm.
That should be the ideal approach.
Right. Now coming back to the interview process, how did the day in the Dholpur house look like? And you had so many things in your DAF with respect to Bhagavad Gita also. So were the questions on the anticipated lines, or was there anything that caught you off guard that day?
Sir, my interview in the Dolpur house, it is that day that I'll remember throughout my life, because at that day I did not have much of the strength due to some health reasons. But I persisted the day, and as soon as I entered the Dolpur house, I just forget about my health issues, and I was really happy to be there, because it is after a lot of wait and lot of years of hard work and sacrifice that I made it to that Dolpur house. And the interview really went well, very sir. Uh, the mocks that I had given initially, they did not go well, because I just stayed around 1 week in Delhi, and I gave back to back mocks without even reflecting on my performance. So that is how my mocks went, and I was a bit underconfident for a while. But then I prepared a lot after coming back home. I had at least a 1 month gap after my last mock. So in that 1 month, I reflected and I made some changes in the outlook of the interview preparation. And when it comes to the interview session, the actual interview, it was a real moment for me, sir, because I was sitting in front of some distinguished people for the first time in my life, and in the entirety only they covered my DAF. So the interview went behind like 35 minutes per se. I was the last one to go in the forenoon session, so it extended beyond 1:15 p.m. also, and I did not know the time speed of the time then. And many questions from my DAF, like each and every entry that I mentioned in the entry number 7 was covered thoroughly, and especially about Bhagavad Gita. Every member of the board asked me something about Bhagavad Gita. So almost I can say somewhere around 7 to 8 questions on Gita were asked itself. And other than that, my areas of interest, my hobbies, and my achievements. So all of these were covered in entirety. And to my surprise, no single current affair question was asked. That I almost had 4.5 months current affair notes with me that I prepared by myself with all the value addition and analysis, but zero questions were asked. That was to my surprise, and it went really well, sir. I felt really happy after the interview.
Great. And now we have to talk about what has changed after All India Rank 11. So, what has changed after All India Rank 11 overnight?
Oh, yes, sir. Overnight, there was a lot of attention on me. I was that kind of person who minds my own business and not will get indulged into any other stuff. And even people who are the neighbors of our community, they didn't even know that I was in this house preparing by my own self. So they were suddenly shocked to see that there is this girl from our own neighborhood that she scored such a good rank, and a lot of happy tears, happy hugs, because it's a dream come true moment for me, sir. Because it's not just a 1 or 2 year preparation, but it's a childhood dream. So that really changed, and many people they are coming and greeting me, and I could not even spare time for myself in these days.
Right. So, again, what is the message you would want to give to the Shivani who could not clear prelims in the very first attempt, if you have to look back in the hindsight?
Yes. It is to just go through the challenges, because nobody's way is so like clean and simple. You will always get challenges, and just believe in yourself no matter how hard things go. Always believe in yourself. Only think about the controllables in life. Beyond that, we'll have no control. The uncontrollables in life, we'll never have the control on them. So just focus on the controllables. Keep your best of the efforts, and move on if you could not make it. Maybe some good ways or better ways are waiting for you ahead. So just be calm and go ahead.
Have you thought, Shivani, what kind of an officer would you be? What other areas you want to work for? Do you have some vision specifically with some area that you really want to work in?
Sir, I envision myself as that officer who will bring some change. I do not know the extent of it because I'm not yet in the services, but I'll definitely bring some change in certain areas. And over the time, sir, especially the subject of anthropology has garnered a lot of interest in me regarding the tribal development and women empowerment. So maybe these are the two areas that I'll be very keen in working going ahead in the life.
Right. And now that you are a symbol and hope for many, and so how do you want to be remembered when you end this journey apart from the rank? So apart from rank 11, Shivani, how should people remember you when you are done with your civil services career?
Sir, if it is not way too much to dream, I actually like I had the role model of Dr. Kalam. Our institute was also named after Dr. Kalam, and sir, I always remember the person. Like even when I heard the name of Dr. Kalam, I'll remember him as a person, the kind of person he was. So that will come first rather than his achievements or contributions in science or to the as a president of India. So I also want to be remembered as a good person with some contribution touching few lives, and it's all about the person that I am. So I think beyond every designation or profession, as a person that I am, I shall be remembered like that.
Wonderful, Shivani. I'm sure you would be an officer who would touch many, many lives. Uh, Thank you so much for spending your time with us. It was a pleasure interacting with you. All the very best. I'm very confident you would be a great, great officer.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for having me here and having to share my thoughts with you all. I really thank you, sir, for this opportunity.